Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a crummy day here in suburban Chicago, at least weather-wise. The cloud is overcast and not super pleasant, but the temperature is actually pretty nice. It's early December. It's actually December 1st, and the weather is comfortable, which is not what I'd expect from early December. Usually it's pretty chilly. I do have a hat on, but I'm not wearing gloves. Now that you know the state of my dress, let's talk board games. It is December 1st, so that means it's time for Top of the Stack. If you're new to the podcast, Top of the Stack is a regular feature in which I talk about the games I've played in the last month and decide on the games that I'm going to play in the coming month. It's a kind of check-in that gives us a chance to go over some stats and generally just enjoy the hobby of having played games. If you are keeping track of these sorts of things, I'd love for you to share what games you've been playing, what games you're planning on playing, and everything in between by going over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and sharing there. We usually have a top of the stack thread. Sometimes I start it, sometimes one of the listeners starts it, but either way, it's a fun way to engage. If you go to rattleboxgames.com and look at the show notes for this episode, you can find links to my personal top of the stack list where I keep most of the stuff that I'm talking about here, as well as my links to my Shelf of Opportunity and my 52 game challenge. So in that regard, here we are. Today, I am going to talk through the November top of the stack, or this is the December top of the stack. So we talk about how I did in November and what I'm going to say in December. If you have just started recently, you may realize that like 3 episodes ago, I did a top of the stack episode. Normally, I try to put out between 5 and 10 episodes a month, maybe a little more than that. And so there's, usually half a dozen or a dozen episodes between top of the stack episodes. But November was a very busy month. I kind of went on unintentional hiatus for a couple of weeks. And so I only put out a few episodes. Thus, the top of the stacks are coming close together. But I really enjoy making them, and I think you enjoy listening to them, so here we are. So let's jump into it. Top of December, top of the stack. You can hear my paper rustling as I pull out my stats. Let's start with just general stats. November, 67 games played, or 67 plays of 52 different games. A huge portion of that is attributable to Thanksgiving, which I'll be talking about in the next episode. I tried to talk about it in an episode I made yesterday, but I didn't have my microphone with me, so I tried using the Bluetooth microphone on my earbuds, and that sounds like crap. And I know this podcast is not known for its audio quality, but that was garbage, unlistenable. So I had to trash that episode, and now it's December 1st, so I feel weird making more episodes and publishing them in December without having done a top of the stack first. So that's why top of the stack is first, and then the next couple episodes, probably 3 of them, will be shooting from the hip episodes. So hopefully you're in the mood for some off-the-cuff reviews. But that's coming up. Right now we're saying 67 plays of 52 different games for a year total of 745 plays of 253 different games. It's been a good year, game-wise. Not the best. I think at this point last year I was well over 800 plays, but not terrible by any means. Getting plenty of plays in. My Shelf of Opportunity, my original, it started around 40 games this year. My goal was to reduce it to 20, and I have not done that at all. At the beginning of November, it was at 61. I've now reduced it to 55. I knocked 6 games off my Shelf of Opportunity, which is even more impressive than it sounds when you realize how many games I acquired in November, more than a couple. Feeling pretty good about that. My collection size, I have a general goal to reduce my collection size, but apparently it is an effervescent and unachievable goal because once again my collection size increased and I've now crested the 500 game mark. I was sort of thinking that 400 seemed like a healthy collection that I didn't need to make any bigger. Now I'm over 500, so at this point I really need to. Maybe I should see 500 as a hard limit, but you all know me. My most played game this month was Rainbow Rabbits. I'll talk about that in a couple episodes, and in real life. And asynchronously, I played Innovation the most, 4 plays of that one. On the top of the stack itself is a list of 3 games plus 1 bonus that I am trying to get played in a given month. If I get 3 of those 4 played, I consider it a successful month, goal achieved. This month I was very close. I got 2 of the 3 played. which is better than most months. I've only had 2 months this year where I got 2 or 3 of the games played before now. So 3 out of 11. That's not great in terms of goals. Overall, I've had 33 games on my top of the stack list, and I've played 14 of them during those months. So the top of the stack, I had Bonfire, which I've already talked about in the Shooting from the Hip episode, and I did get played. I was going to revisit Orleans. I still have not had a chance to do that. That is going to stay again for next month. My audience choice, I just made up that that's the audience choice because I was tired of putting Teach You on there over and over again. But Fantasy Realms, and I did get that played. And then finally, my reattempt was Arion, and I have not gotten that played yet. I think it's going to stay again. I hope you're not getting tired of those being there. I kind of am, but I really want to get them played. So, new plays this month. I'm going to give you a preview of the games you'll be hearing about in the Shooting from the Hip episodes that are coming up. This month, I tried out Monster Baby Rescue on Yucata.de. That's a Vladimir Suchy children's game. Interesting, pretty fun. I'm on my second play of it right now, playing with regular listener Gabriel Edge, I believe. Also playing Maori, I think, also with Gabriel. Then Bonfire, I mentioned. Blueprints, I mentioned. So those are Bonfire and Blueprints I talked about in that episode. I got to play Yido, the Master Set, Ra, the Dice Game, So Clover, Demon Worker, Fantasy Realms, Back to the Future, Back in Time, Rainbow Rabbits, Rolled West, and Korra, Rise of an Empire. So it was a productive month. I went from 81 new to me games at the beginning of November to 95 new to me games as of this update, which means that I'm pretty close to cresting 100 new games in the year, which is my sort of unofficial goal. I did get to play 2 expansions this month. I tried Cartographer's Heroes, and that was fun. Looking forward to exploring that a bit more. We played the Undercity map, and we played another Escape the Room, the game box. It was the Puzzle Adventures, The Secret of the Scientists, which we played my father-in-law and or my in-laws copy, and then they didn't want it anymore, so we took it home to give to a friend. And I found at home we have a copy of the game that friend did and gave to us. So we actually have 2 copies to give away now. That'll be interesting. Out of the Dust plays this month. I did have a couple games that I played that I hadn't played in a year or more. That was a Game of Thrones, Coup, and a Game of Thrones Hand of the King. A Game of Thrones is the 4 or 5 hour mega game with a huge board and 6 players and area control and backstabbing and deals and so on. And then a Game of Thrones Hand of the King is this tight little abstract game in which you're trying to get control of these different families. It's great. That one's really fun. And I played it a couple years ago when my cousin and her husband brought it over to our house, and I bought it at Goodwill for $2. And then I spent 8 getting a little plastic Varys, because the pawn you're moving around, in the game you move around this card that has Varys on it, but you're moving that card constantly, so it's weird to be moving a card. It's much better to have a pawn. And my cousin and her husband had bought a the mini Funko Pop of Varys, and that was perfect. So I went on eBay and got one for $6, I think, and that was perfect. So that's what's out of the dust. 29 games I've dusted off this year. On my 52 game challenge, this is a quirky list of 52 different prompts, and your goal is to play games that meet each of these prompts. I've coming into the month, I had done 46 of the 52 prompts. I've now done 47, so I have 5 or 6 left to go, 5 left to go. The one I did this month was play a game with a shape in the title. So I think I am going to have to, sometime in the next couple days, go through the remaining prompts and pick out what games I'm going to play and arrange to play them. That's the only way I'm going to get this done. But I don't mind. That challenge has actually been fun, and it's one of the few of the challenges that I set for myself. One of the only ones I'm going to make, because I'm not even reporting on the Family 10 for 10 or my Leftovers challenge, both of which have completely stagnated. Although I think I will tick off one more Leftovers challenge play this month. Next week I'm set up to play Tricarion, and that should be a delight. Okay, the Shelf of Opportunity log. As I mentioned, the Shelf of Opportunity is my list of games I have not played, and I did get a number of games played that I had purchased this month. Demon Worker, Rainbow Rabbits, and So Clever were all games that I had on the Shelf of Opportunity. I also played Blueprints and Bonfire, and Back to the Future, Back in Time, and Fantasy Realms, and Rolled West. These were all games that were on the Shelf of Opportunity, and I have removed them from it by playing them, which means that I'm down to 55 games on the shelf. Finally, the overall collection size update. According to my tracking, it should be 501, but in looking at the Board Game Geek collection status thing, when I exported it, it says I have 505 games. So I'm not sure where I got out of step with my reporting, but I do have more games than I currently knew. So 505 is my current official count. If we think the Board Game Geek spreadsheet is correct, or the Board Game Geek collection sheet is correct, and it usually is. Which leads me to the question of next month's top of the stack. I already said that I'm planning to leave Arion on there and Orleans as my revisit, which means I need the new game and the audience choice. I don't know what the audience choice would be because you aren't here with me to ask, but as I look at what I have here, I think that Alien Artifacts is definitely a game I'd like to get played. And let's say Bees. So I'm gonna try to get Bees played and Alien Artifacts played this month, along with revisiting Orleans and trying to check off Arion. So that gives you a sense of what I am gonna be playing this month. What games are you gonna be playing? Have you been playing games this month? What games have you knocked off of your shelf of your opportunity? How big is your shelf of opportunity? Have you maintained a goal of whittling it down? Are you trying to have it whittled down? And if so, what's keeping you from having that success? I mean, the main thing that's keeping me from the success is, I guess, my squirrel brain, always chasing the new thing. I see a new thing, I want to play it. It's harder to go back to my shelf and get an older thing that still is new to me because I haven't played it, but is older. I mean, I do have a number of games on my shelf of opportunity that really are novelty games, so the idea that they're something I'm going to check off is a bit more quirky, but nonetheless, I still would like to have played every game in my collection, and I'm further away from that than I was at the beginning of the year, which is a bummer. But I do have one more month. Maybe I'll get 25 games off my shelf of opportunity in the next month, but it seems unlikely. Well, thanks for joining me on my walk today. If you want to get in touch, head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and join the conversation there. You can email me, Brendan at Rattlebox Games, or send me a direct message on Board Game Geek. Wombat929 is my username. I appreciate you joining me today and hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.